Great. Thank you all so much for coming. There's some familiar faces, but some new faces, and I'm excited about that. As most of you probably know, I try to do at least one town hall a month where I get out and just talk about an issue that I think is important, but then also happy to address any other issues that are out there. The last couple of months, I've done a lot more than one. Last month I did 8, and I just did another one a couple of weeks ago. But this is an issue that I think is of such importance that I wanted to hold another one now at the close to the official start of summer, just a little bit after the official start of summer, and talk about an issue that I think is one of the most important issues that we face as a city. It's been one of my priorities since taking office, and I intend for it to remain a priority throughout my time in office, and that's the issue of youth employment. I think everybody here, by being here, probably already shares that view, that having opportunities for our young people to get an experience of employment, earn a paycheck, and do something of purpose is critically important. And you probably already know the numbers too, but just to share with you, unemployment rates for young men and women in our city are through the roof. And for those who are 16 to 19, it's 51%. Now, hopefully, some of those kids are in school, but I think that these numbers probably severely undercount the reality. I think that this is probably way underestimating the number of kids who want to have an employment experience, even during those high school years, and can't get one. And of young people aged 20 to 24, 30%. That too, I think, dramatically undercounts the percentage of young people who are eager to work, who want to work, and can't find an opportunity. And if you look then at another category, which is those that are both out of work and out of school. And in that age group of 16 to 24, which President Obama has called opportunity youth, and some other groups are calling disengaged, disconnected young people, that's 20% of our young people in our city fit that bill. They're neither employed nor in school. And to me, that is a crisis of opportunity. It's a crisis of fairness. It's a crisis deeply tied with the inequality that we're facing as a nation. It's also a public safety issue. Because for a lot of our young people, you can't find an opportunity and you don't see a path and you don't see a hope, then you can be led down another path that is tempting but dangerous. And as another example of the need that's out there, the summer youth employment program that we have that I'm going to talk a little bit about in a little while can serve about 1,000 kids, but we had almost 3,000 kids apply this year. And that's just for a short 5-week program, but that gives you a sense of the demand that is out there. And there again, I suspect that undercounts. That if all kids in that age group knew what opportunities were available, I think you'd probably see a whole lot more applications come in. So we have a long way to go, and I want to say up the front that nothing I'm going to tell you tonight represents anywhere approaching the complete solution to the challenge that we face. But it does, I hope, represent a step forward. And I hope in some areas, a good step and a big step forward. But we have a long way to go, and it's going to take a lot of time to get there. With that as an introduction, I want to start by talking about an initiative that is a brand new initiative in the city. It's something that I talked about when I was running for mayor, because I believe that this is exactly the kind of program that we need as a city. It's something that I've been calling the Youth Service Corps. And the idea for it came about for a couple of different reasons. Number one, I was thinking about the fact that we in this city, in parts of our city, have Great Depression level unemployment. In the Promise Zone, unemployment, official unemployment, again, just on paper, is at 27%. That's higher than it was during the Great Depression. And during the Great Depression, part of the answer to that for our country was to put young people directly to work, to give them a chance to earn a paycheck for doing things in our country that built up the infrastructure of our country and made our country stronger. And I think that's exactly the kind of thing we need to do at a local level. And this is not trying to solve every problem. This is not trying to deliver every service that every one of the participants or the young people who might be involved in this program might need. It's really meant to be simple. This is meant to be a job, a year-round, part-time job. at $10.10 an hour, a chance to earn some money, to be part of a team that's working together on projects that will have a concrete, visible impact in neighborhoods, in your neighborhoods. So things like working with Habitat for Humanity or Rebuilding Together Hartford to rehabilitate blighted homes. Things like working with Knox Park to beautify our city. And maybe some special projects like during the winter to shovel some snow for seniors who need help. I think this is an opportunity to use this program not just to give a chance for a paycheck and a work experience to young people, but also to hopefully bring our community together and make us stronger in the process. So we obviously, as I think you all know, are facing some serious financial challenges in the city. We didn't have the ability just to fund the program. We had to go out and raise it. And it's always hard to get people to contribute funds to something that hasn't existed before. Usually funders want to see a track record. They want to see measurable results. They want to see your data. And this is just a concept. But we went out and reached out to companies nearby here, to foundations farther afield. And I want to just say, so everybody knows, that some of the companies right here did a good amount to help allow us to get this started. The Hartford was the first one to come in, giving us $500,000. The Aetna, the Travelers, both came in, giving hundreds of thousands of dollars apiece. The Newman's Own Foundation came in with a big contribution, and another foundation called the Dalio Foundation came in with a very big contribution. And that together allowed us to have enough funds that we could launch this summer, and it was important to me that we launch this summer and begin building. In July, on July 12th, we intend to launch with 200 participants in the Youth Service Corps. Again, they're going to be working in teams. Each of those teams is going to be working with what we're calling a coach. That's the boss / mentor / coach who is making sure that that team is coming together and working as a team. And also, because we're implementing this through an organization that has a bigger infrastructure, OPP, our piece of the pie, also has the ability to make sure that if there are other issues that the participant in the program is dealing with, that the resources are there for that coach to connect them with some of the other things that OPP can help provide. And that's an important part of this. While the program is about the job, and it's not trying to be more than the job, it's at least placed in a framework where if there are other issues, that coach can help connect that young person to some other resources to help out if there are other things that they need help with. I hope to be able to grow this to 500 young people by the end of the year, and we're going to continue to go out and raise resources privately to do it. But in the meantime, we're going to be focused on demonstrating that it works. I also want to talk a little bit about who we're aiming this program at. There are a lot of different employment programs, entities, organizations out there, and I'm going to talk about more of them later. This is specifically intended for those young people who really are disengaged and disconnected, who may have dropped out of school, or who are chronically absent from school and are struggling, who can't have a job, who may have some past interaction with the criminal justice system, who may be very close to having some new interaction with the criminal justice system, who may be very well known to organizations or individuals like Brother Carl Hardrick at the Y, who's working with young people who may be at the edge of gang or group affiliation and trying to show a different way. Maybe folks who've been involved in things like Project Longevity, where the law enforcement component has been saying, look, you got to get your act together or else, but for too long hasn't had an alternative to the or else, hasn't been able to say, and if you do get your act together, here's an option for something better. So for this program, at least with this first 200, it's really aimed at those young people who aren't self-selecting into, who aren't putting in applications for the Summer Youth Employment Program. They're not among those 2,700. They really are more disconnected than that. And its recruitment for this program is by referral, meaning it's not just taking applications at random. We're asking organizations like the YMCA or the Boys and Girls Club or the Hartford Police Department or the Community Court or Compass Peace Builders or Hartford Communities That Care to give us the recommendations of kids who they think really need the chance to get into something like this, to put some money in their pocket and start getting back engaged. And as part of that engagement process, that coach is also going to work with them to try to get them back engaged in school or in putting together a plan so that this isn't the last year-long employment they have. It's the path to a sustainable employment. So that's what we're trying to do. And if you individually or somebody who you think wants to participate in this, or if you want to help refer a young person to be part of this program, we welcome that. We're in the process right now of doing that recruitment. And I will say up front, as I said earlier, I don't have any illusion or pretend that 200 jobs comes anywhere close to satisfying how much need there is out there. But it's 200 more than there are right now. And I hope that by putting it together now and building it and proving it, we'll be able to get more and more funding to grow it more and more. So that's the first thing I want to share with you. I'm going to go through all this and then take questions at the end, if that's all right. But I'm happy to come back to any piece of this. I'll say just one more thing about the projects. I talked a little bit about the projects, but it really is meant to be, this is different than some of the supplement programs that are out there, because we're not just taking kids and placing them in an organization or placing them in an internship where it's just one or two kids that are there. This is about also getting that sense of community and teamwork that we can build by having that youth service corps team work as a team on a project that they hopefully will be able to walk by the next month and say, hey, I did that. That's part of it too. So with that, I'm going to go on to talk about some of the other things we've been doing. Another new opportunity is something that is called the Promise Zone Yes program. You know, we, as a city with a Promise Zone, we have the ability to compete and get some priority in the competition for federal grants. And that's really what a Promise Zone designation means. I don't know how much everybody here knows about the Promise Zone. The Promise Zone is, you know, a good chunk of the north end of Hartford. It's northeast, Clay Arsenal, Upper Albany. And that area designated as the Promise Zone gets extra points in grant applications. But it only matters if you really go after those grants aggressively. We still have to go after them as a city. We have to identify our priorities, we have to put in our applications, and we have to lobby hard for them. But that's what we're doing because we want the Promise Zone to really mean something. And so this program, unlike the Youth Service Corps, which is about the whole city, this program is specifically for young people in the Promise Zone. And it's another $2 million. It's $2 million grant from the Federal Department of Labor. And it's designed to connect 275 young people to job opportunities and career pathways. More specifically, it's for 200 rising seniors, so high school students in Hartford who are about to become seniors. And it's about putting them through the course of their senior year, putting them in a position to get long-term, sustainable, unsubsidized employment through training, through mentorship, through some job experiences. And the other piece of it is for 75 young men or women who are out of school. Either they dropped out or they're just finished with school and they're in that category of kids who are between 16 and 24 that are out of school and not working. So that's another new program, new opportunity that is targeted to a large extent at the same group. Today, we just announced, just this afternoon, that we also received another grant that we've been fighting for, which is an $800,000 grant for the Strive program. It's a federal grant that's specifically focused on young people, 16 to 24 again, who have had past convictions, who have had an interaction with the criminal justice system and are coming back. And one of the things that I think is really important about this is that this complements another thing that we've got, which is a grant recently to allow for young people who fit that description, 18 to 24, who have had criminal justice interaction, to get free legal services. And these two together, I think, really represent a powerful combination to help young people who are coming out of prison with an extra barrier of a criminal conviction to get the legal help that they need, including potentially to try to clear their record or get a pardon, and also to get on the path to a job. It's going to be mentoring, it's going to be apprenticeships, and it's going to be access to meaningful employment opportunities. So altogether, just in the last 5 months, that's $5 million that we've been able to raise, new money that we didn't have before, to focus on the challenge of employment opportunities for young people in our city. $2.2 million for the Youth Service Corps, serving 200 kids. $2 million for the Promise Zone Yes, with 275, and $800,000 through the Strive program, specifically focused on those who have the added barrier of a criminal conviction. Now again, we got a long way to go, but we're going to stay as focused on this in the next 5 months as we have been in the first 5 months, and I hope that we can keep building on that success. Now, I want to also talk about some of the things that we already have and that we're maintaining. One of those things is the Summer Youth Employment Program. I talked about that at the beginning, and the demand and how much the demand outstrips what we've got to offer. But it's important to make sure that everybody knows what we do have to offer. So through the city, we committed $1 million to fund a total. Our city funding is a part of a broader group of funds that helps put over 1,050 Hartford youth to work during the summer. And that is a program that places young people in specific jobs through specific organizations, nonprofits, or companies, or for-profit companies, so that they get the experience during that period of the summer of working. And it's broken down into three categories of young people, and depending on their job readiness. One is those subsidized career-level internships for kids who are in school, meaning they're ready to work. They've got all the skills they need. Maybe they've had a work experience before. They're ready to hit the ground running. And this program helps place them in that employment opportunity that hopefully may also turn into a long-term employment opportunity because they get the chance to prove themselves. The next piece is for workforce training for those who need it, and simulated work experiences for a group who really just needs to be brought along a little bit more before they're ready for that full work experience. The deadline for applying this summer has passed. We held a bunch of big, well-attended application fairs earlier in the spring. And as I said, we got much more interest than we could fulfill. But please check in with Capital Workforce Partners. Tom Phillips is right here in the middle in the gray suit, and they implement that program. And if you want to learn more about it, whether it's for next summer or if you just want to know whether there's any, whether you just want to learn more about what they do, you can talk with him as well. So that's a program that we're going to continue to support, and I hope that we're able to grow it in the future and get closer to satisfying the demand that's out there. That's a quick summary of the main large-scale programs that we do have through the city, either directly city-funded or through city grant applications or private money that we've raised. But I also just want to talk a little bit about what we're trying to do to make sure that we get better at addressing this challenge in a coordinated way. As I look around this room, I can see representatives of a lot of different organizations that work with young people in Hartford. And one of the challenges for us in this area, like it is in a lot of other areas, is that we don't always coordinate as well as we should. We have a lot of people who are doing great work, but they're not always doing it side by side or hand in hand. They don't always know what the other person's doing. Sometimes 2 or 3 organizations may be working with one kid, and yet there's another kid over here who needs an opportunity and doesn't have anybody working with them. So through the Hartford Opportunity Youth Collaborative, We're trying to bring those organizations that do that work together. And one of the first steps to making that effective is literally creating a common picture of the kids that are being served, the young people that are being served or that are involved, so that we can start to say, hey, you do business with this, you work with this kid, I know that kid, why don't you, take on some of what we're doing, and we can free up a spot for another young person. Or maybe they each have a little bit of insight on what that young person that they're each working with is dealing with, and they can help deal with it better. In some ways, this is modeled on an approach that actually has been really, really successful in dealing with the challenge of chronic homelessness in our city. We've still got a long way to go there too, but in chronic homelessness, we've seen a 40% drop over the past year. And a big part of that reason is that for the first time ever, you got all of the groups that are serving the homeless community together in the same room around the same table and looking at the same spreadsheet and the same names and saying, and literally dividing and conquering. And that's what we've got to do in this space too. And so I just, although this is not a specific opportunity, I just want everybody to know that that's an area of continued focus, because it's an area where we have a lot of improvement, a lot of room for improvement. And we're going to stay committed to trying to bring everybody together so that we can do the work that we want to do more effectively. Another thing that I often hear, and it's absolutely right, is that it's really hard to know what's out there. It's related to the fact that we don't coordinate well enough. And we have so many organizations, and there's no one place you can go to find out. So one of the things that we're doing with the help of Kim Oliver, who's over at Capital Workforce Partners, putting together, and is also the executive director of the Hartford Opportunity Youth Collaborative, is putting a tool together that will make it easy to figure out what opportunities are out there. And I'm going to try to demonstrate this. We'll see if I do this. We'll see if I do this well. But we're going to put, this will be a website that you can get to through the Hartford City website and also through the websites of various organizations. And it will let you go in and say, the first question, where do you live? I live in Hartford. Are you in school? Let's say yes. Will you be a senior in high school in September? Let's say no. So the first thing it'll tell you that the Summer Youth Employment Learning Program applications, are available. This is already passed. This is demonstration. But so if you haven't received a notification of your status, click here. I can't get there, but you see the point. And if you go through this, depending on your answers, it'll help connect you to exactly those opportunities that you need. So let's say you're out of school, but you're interested in construction. And so this will take you to this page where it'll say, here are some options for you. You can work through the Urban League of Greater Hartford. You can work through some of the programs at the Connecticut, at the Center for Latino Progress, through the Hartford Jobs Funnel, through the Opportunity Youth Program at the Chrysalis Center. We're still building this, but I hope that gives a sense of what we're trying to do, so that it'll make it easy to go in and say, here's my situation. Here's how old I am. Here's what my school status is, and can you tell me what I should be looking for and who I should be talking to? And when we get this up and running, I hope that this is going to help make it a lot easier for young people in Hartford to at least know what the options are. So, having said that, right now, there are organizations that are all represented. If you're interested in learning more about some of the specific opportunities that are out there, you can talk with Capital Workforce Partners. They've got the Best Chance, the iBest program, which is also focused on second chance. You got the Promise Zone Yes program that we talked about, and the Summer Youth Employment. The Center for Children's Advocacy, which is doing that legal work, that free legal work that I talked about. The Juvenile Reentry Assistance Program is here. The Chrysalis Center and the Pathways to Career programs. The Job Corps. By the way, I forgot to mention the Job Corps right now has empty slots, residential and non-residential, right over, near the Walmart. There's a beautiful Job Corps campus where you can get training in specific career paths, and the placement. What's that? No, over by Flatbush, off exit 45. Yeah, on William Shorty Campbell Boulevard. But that is, immensely successful program at doing both training and placing young people in employment, and they've got empty spots. So that's another one to check out. Our Piece of the Pie, which is going to be administering or implementing the Youth Service Corps in partnership with us, and the Urban League of Greater Hartford is represented here today. So again, we're so far from having all of the resources that we need. We're so far from being able to satisfy all the demand, but also there's a lot more out there than I think people realize, and it's our job to make sure that we're letting people know. And that's why I wanted to do this. That's why we're doing the Opportunity Youth Collaborative process. That's why we're going to get that website up and running. But in the meantime, if you're a young person here tonight and you want to talk with any of these groups, they're here. And for everybody who's here who just wanted to learn, I just ask that you share that. Share some of this information. Help us get the word out. Help everybody understand that we know full well that we've got a long way to go, but that we are intensely focused on at least delivering on the promise of making this a priority. And it's going to remain a priority for the next 3.5 years at least. So thank you very, very much for coming to this. I'm happy to take some questions now or hear any thoughts. I'd love to I'd love to keep the discussion. Unlike most of these town halls where I really say, let's talk about anything you want, I'd love to keep this discussion focused on Hartford's young people and employment opportunities. Ms. Fleming.
Hi. First, I'm sorry I'm late. I had to actually pick up the young person that I'm here inquiring about. Isaiah is my godson. He is scored the second highest in his school. His mama is struggling with cancer, and he has been suspended 13 times this year. We are struggling with some behavioral issues. He doesn't qualify for the youth employment program. Financially, we don't meet the criteria from some other programs. So he's at that unique year of 13 when summer employment usually start at 14. Mm-hmm. And although I help a lot of people in the city, I'm scared I'm gonna lose my godson. And I need somebody to tell me which program fits for that kid who is in that in-between where he's not old enough for the summer youth program, but financially we don't qualify for some of the other unique programs. We signed him up from a performing arts school and thinking that he was gonna get what he had at University of Hartford. There was no performance. It was a kid, he left there, he was on a debate team, he was on the acting team, he was on the choir. He's been in this school, he has done none of that, but yet he's been suspended 13 times and still score the second highest in his school. I need somebody to tell me, what do you do with that 13-year-old boy who don't qualify for summer youth employment? We have radiation every morning. He has idle time. We try to keep him with sitters, but I need some program, somebody who deals with 13-year-olds who may not be already in the juvenile system and all of those unique things that kind of frame how we deal with our kids, but I don't want to lose mine. And so I need somebody to tell me what that looks like.
Thank you, Janice. Can I ask the audience, can I ask folks who are here, and we've got a lot of different organizations, and if we don't have anybody here, then Janice, let's talk afterwards and let's figure out. Tell me your name. Isaiah. It's good to meet you, Isaiah. So let's talk afterwards if nobody raises their hand here. But Diane Jones, who works with the city, go ahead, Diane.
Okay, there are openings right now, okay?
So-
You may want to call over there.
So Janice, why don't you connect with Diane afterwards? But also, you know, I mean, other things that come to mind. I don't know if they've worked or if they don't work for you, but the Boys and Girls Club, I think, is tremendous. There are lots of others. The YMCA for sure. Anybody in this room think that, you know, they're an organization that would be particularly good for Isaiah? All right. The what? Look, there's Channel 3 Kids Camp, there's Camp Current. So, Janice, why don't you connect with Diane afterwards and then let's talk some more, all right? Yeah.
224 has summer programs, and they are arts focused, so we can probably fit in there very well.
And there's the National Youth Sporting Program, Dream Camp at Trinity College. I got my twins in there. You just stay active all day with different sport activities. And being on a college campus like a Trinity is an awesome experience, you know.
So, I think that's just from a few folks in the room. I'm sure there's a whole lot more out there. So, Janice, Isaiah, let's talk afterwards, talk with Diane, but Isaiah, we're going to find you something. We want you to be as successful as you should be. All right?
Well, on that note, there we go. On that note, I'm really concerned about moving into the future and a child like Isaiah, 13 years old, kind of being disconnected. I've always done, 26 years I've been, head custodian or whatever, but what's always been important is after-school programs. Mm-hmm. Keeping our kids busy, getting them off the streets. And right now I'm so concerned with all the cuts that we're doing and the financial crisis that's coming down the road. How are we what's the plan to move into the future? What's the plan for real after-school programs? I was telling my kids, we went down to Cheshire one day on a Friday. Weaver was scrimmaging when Weaver was still Weaver. We were playing football and we were scrimmaging Cheshire. They had everything going on. And we get back to Weaver, it was like tumbleweeds. And it's like, it's been a total neglect of our young people for a long time in the city of Hartford. And I'm curious, what is the plan? How do we move into the future with the financial crisis and ensure that kids like Isaiah that really need something gets it?
It's a great question. So first of all, I would say we're going to continue to try to get as many private dollars coming in as we possibly can. Part of this is trying to make sure that we're turning over every rock to try to find resources that can help us do what we're not able to do. But the other piece, and now this takes us into the broader budget discussion, but it's all tied together.
Yeah, it is.
So, I will say, my number one priority, not because I want it to be the number one priority, because it has to be the number one priority, is positioning us to be able to make a successful case to the region and to the state that we need a different level of support from this region and from the state, that everybody in the whole region has an interest in having a strong Hartford. And that means resources coming in from outside of Hartford into Hartford. And so everything that I'm doing right now, I'm going out and I talked to the Simsbury Chamber of Commerce a couple weeks ago and made that same point, that we need your help. We need money. Specifically, we need money coming in because Hartford is a small city. We are a poor city. A lot of our property is non-taxable. And we do provide services for the entire region and the entire state. And we need help. So there's no easy answer to your question. But that, to me, is the biggest battle we have to fight, is to try to say that we can no longer be a small city where the only source of revenue other than some state funding is the property tax, when we're a city where our taxable property is about the same amount that the town of Farmington has. It just doesn't work. And we're long overdue to have that conversation and pull the alarm bell and say, if we want to be successful as a state, we have to invest in our cities. So that's part of my answer to that. And if we can address that, then I think we'll be in a position down the road to make the kind of investments that we need to be making in our city in every way, including in our young people's future.
You know, I agree. We definitely need more money, but I think we also got to think bigger than we've ever thought. You know, I've been in conversation with officials down at the Council for New Britain. You know, we need to increase our tax base. And, you know, one of the things I was kicking around, I'm like, well, we have a lot of people making a lot of money in the city of Hartford who don't live in the city of Hartford. Right. That money never gets recirculated. So our property taxes continue to go up. Our automotive, the mill rate, all of this stuff, that's all connected with after-school programs for an Isaiah. It's like, well, why don't we have, like, if you make over $100,000 a year, and this is exactly what I've been telling the union, if you make over $100,000 a year, you should be required to live inside that municipality. Because what's going to happen is the union membership is going to get less, because you're going to lay off again next year if we don't have a plan. And it makes, you know, within 3 years, if we do something like that, now you're going to have more members in the union because you're going to be able to hire. The property taxes are going to go down. Your mill rate's going to go down. Your assessment rate's going to go up because everyone's going to feel like more connected with their neighborhood. I mean, we really need to think bigger than just let's cut this, let's cut that, because that's not going to work for the long run.
Let me be clear. I think, look, I think we've reached the limit of what we can cut in the city.
Yeah,
I think to make the case to the state that we need help, we had to be willing to do hard things. We had to be willing to make tough decisions and make clear that we're not afraid of that we're willing to do what we can to get our house in order. But there's a limit to how much you can cut in the city before you're not fulfilling your basic obligations to your residents.
Cops
right?
next year and 50
right.
firefighters.
So that's why we've reached that limit. And I think that on the mill rate at 74, you know, we've about reached the limit of where that mill rate can be. If you want to bring employers in, you want to bring jobs in, you have a hard time doing that when your property tax for our businesses is twice what they're paying in every other town. So that's part of it. But the one thing I would say, can I just answer one part of your question?
Really quick. But if we're making that move for that 100K and over, guaranteed within 3 to 4 years, no max 5 years, we're going to be, because the tax base is going to be better, so we're going to be more attractive to manufacture, to retail. You know, now we could really start growing our city, because right now we're not growing.
I agree with you. I would like to have, as part of that big package, I would like to be able to require municipal employees to live in the city. You know, by the way, I wouldn't necessarily limit it to 100,000 and up. I mean, I think that we should be able to have employees in the city live in the city. But even that, I won't agree most strongly with your point that we need to think big. And to me, the biggest thinking is we have to stop letting this, you know, centuries-old system of Connecticut towns with small boundaries drawn around them where everybody says, you take care of yours, I'll take care of mine. It doesn't work, and it especially doesn't work for cities. That's the real change that we've got to make, and that's partly about making towns around understand that you can't be a suburb of nowhere. You want to be a suburb of a strong and vibrant town, but to do that, you've got to be willing to make investments in a city to make it thrive. So, yes, sir.
Mayor Bronin, Charles Botts. I'm a trainer at the American Job Center, and we spend the bulk of our day working with individuals in between opportunities, trying to get back to work. And I think without any hesitation, I would say the most challenging issue is helping folks navigate technology in order to acquire opportunities and present themselves professionally. I mean, we're really talking about soft skills. And maybe it's too detailed for this particular forum. Maybe your direction will be, Charles, you should walk to the back and have conversations with people at the table. But as we are providing these opportunity for youth, and as we look at the Youth Services Corps and the partnership with OPP and other partners in the room, are we providing soft skills? Are we providing opportunity for youth to not only learn on the job and require those important occupation-based trainings, but we're also providing them with content and resources to improve their soft skills so that someone can introduce themselves well, can perform well in an interview when there isn't this embedded advantage with an internship or an opportunity through a summer youth employment type situation. Thank you.
Thanks, Charles. And so part of the answer is that I think almost all the organizations that I talked about before, they do that. But you're absolutely right. I mean, that's a huge a part of preparing somebody for employment. So I think the answer is yes. But I'll also say you should talk with the groups directly and make sure that I'm right. But I think the answer is yes. Yeah. Anybody else? I want to recognize Councilwoman Jennings, Cynthia Jennings, who is here. And Cynthia has been a strong, has always been and continues to be a strong advocate for exactly this kind of work and for making opportunities for our young people. Anybody have any other questions?
I just had one question.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Susan. And from a marketing standpoint, my issue is just there's no youth here, and how, something needs to happen with getting the information out. Like just the city just needs to get the information out. If someone got shot right now, the information will be out in 5 minutes. All of us be on social media, we know something happened on the corner or whatever, but just things that are positive and things that are needed. There needs to be some team that's created that gets the information out. I mean, my kids are in college and they're doing well, and and I'm like, I saw this through a tweet, but where are the people where their children need a program or they're waiting on Camp Current or all these little programs that don't have enough help, and they probably don't even know that this meeting is taking place. And I feel that that's, unacceptable. We should have a team of people who that's their job is just to get the information out, whether they get paid or they volunteer. And that was just my concern with meetings of this sort.
Look, I don't think there's any question. You're right. I mean, meetings of this sort are not in themselves sufficient, right? But this is part of that effort. It's not the effort as a whole. And so there are a lot of different ways that we're trying to get that information out. On the Youth Service Corps, I hope ultimately what will really get the information out is that people will drive down the street and they'll see a team of Youth Service Corps members in your Youth Service Corps T-shirts at work. That's what I hope people will see sooner than later. But you're absolutely right, and particularly once we have that, that website up that tries to help people navigate all the opportunities that are out there and start really expanding it, then we'll have something very specific and very simple that we can promote as widely as possible. I mean, part of the answer is right now, as we saw before, there's no easy way to say to somebody, here's all the opportunities that are out there. That's one of the things that we're trying to get our arms around and get better at being able to do. But when we can do that, then we'll be able to answer that question a lot better. But in terms of promoting it and making sure people know, I told you, for example, the summer youth employment thing. There were a couple of career fairs focused on that summer youth employment leadership program, SYELP, and I went to one that I think must have had 1,000 kids there. So we do get out there and promote them, and this is not the only thing we'll be doing. Councilwoman.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I think number one, we need to know how many jobs are there already funded. I know $2.5 million came in for, was it the Promise Zone? Okay, and that translates into number one, how many jobs? Number two, we need to have a universal application process so everybody fills out one application, and then we get, and then you've actually applied for all the jobs that you're eligible for, all right? And we also need to know who's eligible and where to go to apply. If there's not a universal application, then who's eligible? And we might be able to put that up on public access and run it when there's no television programs running, as well as put it, have access to those 2 new positions that are down in the atrium at City Hall. Right. So that they can actually come in and maybe even register. Is this the same jobsforhartford.com website, or this is a different one?
No, so I think you missed the earlier part where I went through some of this, but the website is really for young people. You can click on, it'll take you through. You can say, yes, I'm a Hartford resident. Yes, I'm this age and I'm out of school. It'll list for you all the opportunities that you can get connected to.
All right, and this is something that they can do as an app on their phone?
Sure, yeah, you could access it from your phone.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, because I think that one of the big questions is people are calling our house already.
Yeah.
Where are the jobs? And I sent them this morning. I sent them to Blue Hill Civic Association. Yep. Because they were looking for summer youth jobs. But when are the summer youth job applications due? When is all that going to be done? And how are we going to make sure that we coordinate it and everybody gets, an opportunity for all the jobs that are open?
So they're all great questions. Some of those I walked through in the presentation earlier, and I'd be happy to sit down with you anytime
Just
I walk through
total,
it.
how
But-
many jobs do we have?
Well,
That's all I need to know.
So in total, for the summer youth program, summer youth employment program, which is just the 5-week program during the summer, that's about 1,000 kids. It's 1,050 kids. Now the applications for that happened months ago, and they closed, and there's a waiting list. So that, but one of the reasons we had so many kids is that we marketed it a lot and make sure that people knew what the opportunities were. I'd love to try to grow that so we can satisfy more of that demand. Then there are three other things that we talked about earlier. One is the Youth Service Corps. And starting in July, there's going to be 200 spots. Now that process is a little bit different because it's going to be by referral only. We're going to be working with groups like Brother Carl at the Y, or like Peace Builders, or even Community Court or others, to identify specific kids that we know we need to get them off the street and into an opportunity, not only for the sake of economic opportunity, but for the sake, in some cases, of safety. And so that's 200 jobs. Then there's the program, 275 kids through a Promise Zone Yes program, which is specifically for the Promise Zone, and that's 200 rising high school seniors and 75 young people out of work. So altogether, those programs alone, and that's not the whole list because there are other things out there. There's Job Corps and there's other organizations that are represented here, but altogether, that's over 1,500 summer youth, not just summer, but youth employment opportunities that are out there.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
I just had
Yeah.
to speak because I have reached out to different programs such as Peace Builders. It's never really been a follow-up. There's really no structure within the Boys and Girls Club. So for someone like Isaiah who, hasn't really lived in tough neighborhoods and who's really academically bright, it doesn't quite, fit, that label that they try to label some of our children as. What do you do with these children? I mean, that's where we're running. Same thing with Camp Current. I mean, there's really no structure within these programs, so are these people being held accountable who are responsible for these programs? I followed up with Peace Builders when I said I was having trouble through school, and, they came out twice, and then here goes the summer, and I haven't heard anything from anyone. The Boys and Girls Club, again, there's no structure, so you send him there, and, all the other children are running wild. I mean, there's just, who's being held accountable?
So, make sure you talk with Diane and check out the program that she talked about. I mean, I would say some of those programs I've been out to and I've visited them and I watched them, and I think they're pretty good. I mean, some of them are, I spent some time out at Camp Current. I think it's a great camp. But some, I don't. I would. Yeah, I would. It's a program where they've got, I think, a great balance of recreation and also learning. They've got a pool to swim in, and they're also doing computer work. And, those are some of the things that...
Are oversaturated. There's really, not enough people to supervise some of these children who are, 13-year-old, 14-year-old.
Let's try to get you connected with one that works for you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Unless there are others, I want to make sure that there's time for folks to just mingle and share information or ask questions of any of the groups that are organized here, or for the groups that are here to talk with one another. So I'll be around for a couple minutes, but I want to just thank everybody for coming out. Please help us get the word out on both pieces, both that we know we've got a lot more work to do, but that we're working hard to do it. So thank you very, very much. Have a great night, everybody.